Speakers greetings Alliance, Critical Speaker Man here. In today's video we will be covering the release of the long awaited episode 78. We'll be analysing some bits you may have missed and of course sprinkle on a few early theories of my own. So, let's analyse. Alright, to keep things compact, I'm not going to do an analysis of everything in the episode. You can go watch Elite Cameraman. Oh. Never mind, or you can go watch other Skibidi YouTubers for that. Instead, I want to point out some smaller details that may have been overlooked or misunderstood. Starting off in the first scene, we can see how the Alliance can re-energize astral weaponry from their orange energy colour to the cameraman's signature blue instead. This is either by a colour setting or tampering with the weapon, I'm not sure, and we'll have to wait for more details on how these energies work first. The one who is receiving these upgrades is the camera toilet drone from episode 16, who is now receiving these upgrades and even wears one of the Juggernaut faction's helmets. We can see a shadowy figure watching us through the window with green highlighting, which could be part of the agent's family. The Alliance and Skibidi scientists are now collaborating with each other, but it's very clear that the humans are kept out of hearing range of the Skibidi virus as it is a cognito hazard. All Skibidis are seen in isolated rooms and away from the human survivors for their own protection. The text being purple suggests that the TV men have the ability to communicate to the cameras remotely, even being able to cut their transmission feed to the Alliance network, which could hint to us one of the many roles they played during the Skibidi War aside from special operations. When the Astros did show up and... Hold a minute. Is that gorgeous Freeman?
Well, if it isn't... Gorgeous Freeman.
If you know, you know. Anyway, when we transition to the TV monitors, on the left screen we can see Duchess pulling a similar gremlin face to how Jimmy did when shooting his eye lasers in early Skibidi Toilet episodes. And I'm not gonna lie, the similarities between Jimmy and Duchess are only adding up the more episodes are released. But on the bottom screen, it shows the Astros have some kind of nuclear weapon they can use against the Alliance, which we may see in the future. I'll come back to this point later on. In the next scene, the portable camera's transmission is off, but is still recording due to the Watchman being able to receive and connect to camera feeds. The head camera engineer who pioneers this technology doesn't seem to be fond of the buzzsaw mutant getting his hands on it, which is odd considering his bodyguards seem okay, as they have now allied with the Skibidis. A grudge perhaps, or just general distrust? Part of the reason it may be a version 2 is that it has a target lock and identification system that informs the user directly of enemy presence, as seen later on. Based on the emojis of the TV men, the left one is Larry and the right one is the TV from episode 39, which I shall coin the name Scarfy from now on. During transportation we are taken to an abyssal realm, which past and potentially future events related to the buzzsaw mutant are displayed. The big TV man speaks unreversed in this realm, which could potentially hint to the race's origin. Oh yeah, Jeff is there too as well. When the group arrives, we can see there are a good amount of survivors still alive, with the camera drone, rocket launcher dude, and an armed cameraman working together to fend off the Astros. During the buzzsaw mutant's MLG montage, we can see the first instance of an Astro surrendering to an Alliance member, which may become a more common occurrence considering what's happening later on in the episode. I do find it funny how YouTube's headquarters are destroyed again, likely due to their neutrality on the lawsuits Boom had to put up earlier with this year. In the apartment building scene, Larry is able to take control of the Astro Specialist mechanical body, which suggests the Astros use neural brain links to control their body's limbs and other functions. He is later seen trying to find his body as he was too carried away with his new form. But not to worry, he links up with the speakers at the end anyway. Before Buzzsaw Mutant dies to the hands of the Hunter Mutant, the speakers return to the front line, with all new redesigns, weapons, and of course, the Executor. I'm glad they still retain their goofiness as well in their fighting, regardless of how serious and imposing their new look betrays. Speaker Woman puts on a show with her new crossblades, as she now wears pink among the Crimson Dawn of the Speakerman era. A small detail is that she wears a necklace of Dark Speakerman, so she can carry the memory of him wherever she goes. The Speaker's Strider received a massive glow up, being able to interrupt and stun opponents through sound and pop Astros like bubble wrap with the two detachable speaker drones. After the Executor plants his cross-shaped beacon, we see more speaker forces arrive back to the awesome synthwave of Perturbator. And as a speaker who works within Speaker Base, this scene was just so relieving after all the hard work everybody contributed for this to even be a possibility. It really makes me feel proud to be a Speaker Man. Now we can be the beacon of hope for the Alliance. Right, let's rewind back to the research base intact. Was this figure outlined in green really the agent? In my opinion, it's not, and that's one of the members of the secret agent's family. Knowing their shape-shifting capabilities, it could be the newest member that was adopted in season 25, who has blended in with the other survivors, or someone else we haven't met yet. They also don't look similar to the secret agent either, and we haven't had any confirmation from Boom yet, so who knows. The agent likely has more important places to be and people to watch over than inside this base. Moving on to the head camera engineer, considering the recent alliance with the Skibidis and the advancements in technology, why is there still a tense atmosphere between the head engineer camera, Skibidi Kleiner, and the buzzsaw mutant? It's very possible they have disagreements in their problem solving, or they're still tense due to the sudden but necessary alliance to overcome the Astro threat. Necessary it may be, but a forced one at that. The last time we saw the head camera engineer outside of Camera Base was in episode 74, when the Skibidis were still considered scum to the Alliance, and the fact those two were making technologies and weapons to try and kill each other would take some time to look past. But hopefully as time passes and innovations are necessitated, they can become good friends. But now onto the really juicy stuff, the TV men's realm and its purpose within Skibidi Toilet. First of all, what even is this plane of existence? For now, let's call it the Abyss, but to understand this abyss we need to refer to what the big TV man said. This quote and what we have seen suggests the Abyss is a place where both space and time are fluid, allowing events or memories to manifest as visions before the point of view. These visions appear to all the members there, as it was picked up by the portable camera, otherwise the camera wouldn't have seen anything if it was truly for the buzzsaw mutant's eyes only. And what Big TV Man said in tandem with these visions could tell us more about the buzzsaw mutant's past and potentially even foreshadow his death. As he said, is it the future? A city explodes and crumbles away into the void. What caused this explosion was hinted to us at the beginning of the episode on the bottom TV screen. A nuclear bomb of sorts, which could be an astro weapon we haven't seen widespread use of yet. That explosion itself could be the fate of the buzzsaw mutant and many Alliance members who are caught in its blast as it explodes, with the same devastation and radius as a nuke. And when the big TV said, is it the past, Buzzsaw looks to his left to see himself being transformed into a mutant under the scientist's careful observation. Both entities now staring back at Buzzsaw. But hold on. How could this manifestation even play out personal memories and stare back in the first place? To quote Nietzsche and his book Beyond Good and Evil, if you gaze for too long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. I believe how these manifestations are created within this abyssal plane take inspiration from this quote. Buzzsaw stared into the abyss, and the abyss gazed into one of his vulnerable memories, only to create this manifestation to stare back at him in front of everyone to see. Whilst they aren't physical to our knowledge, they could act out and portray traumatizing scenes or events the unlucky person had to endure and doesn't want to remember. But we'll need more information to explain why or who is creating these manifestations. Moving on to the next quote. Jeff has that answer. His twitchy and erratic movements alongside the cryptic mumblings paint the picture of an agent who's been driven to madness. Jeff's insanity could have been triggered by witnessing too many of these manifestations the Abyss created, and maybe because of that he doesn't want to leave or can't leave. He could even be considered part of this realm now, as he has been there for so long, which could prevent him from leaving. Alternatively, the TVs could have just banished him there, as Big TV talks down about him, with this whole scene being used to scare Buzzsaw Mutant after he violated the Big TV. Do you want to stay here with Jeff? Jeff's weird, so don't do that again. And which brings me on to my next point. It's clear from this sentence that TVs don't necessarily teleport, but instead open gates in and out of this abyssal plane, which to our knowledge they only use for transport. The easiest way I can describe how this works is through a Minecraft example, so bear with me. In Minecraft, a single block in the overworld is an 8x8 square in the nether, so if you travel 100 blocks forward in the nether, you would have travelled 800 blocks forward in the overworld, which reduces the travel time by 8 times. With this logic, it makes sense why the big TV man said approaching destination, unlike before where we thought they could just teleport. Instead, they were just using a different dimension to get to their destination quicker, like when we saw Simp Cameraman being teleported by TV Woman. I could talk about this realm for hours, but we got the rest of the video to cover, so we'll come back to this in a later video. Moving on to the main fight scene, for the first time we can see a human actually fighting with the Alliance against the Astros, that being the dude with the rocket launcher early in the episode. My only concern for him would be the lack of ear protection from the Skibidi virus, from friendly Skibidis and enemy Astros. Maybe he's deaf or wearing AirPods, I'm not sure. Next we can see Buzzsaw using both Skibidi and Cameraman energy weapons to great effectiveness against the Astros, with the blue energy having its tranquilizing properties, disabling or malfunctioning the Astro Specialist's equipment. We can see evidence later on symbolized by the blue energy sparks erupting from their body and limbs. Like I said earlier, this is the first time we have seen an Astro beg for their lives in their native Skibidi language, which is unusual considering what Boom said in an interview, with only the higher ranking Astros having freedom of thought from the parasites. The parasite would have stopped or suppressed emotions of fear or thoughts of betrayal to make them more effective in combat, surely. It's an interesting thought, but we need more evidence and footage before we can draw conclusions. Finally, we can talk about the Astro Hunter mutant, which, if you watched my last video, I mentioned how it could be part of Juggernaut's squad, which could be made up of different alien species the Astros have oppressed and are now under Juggernaut's leadership. The paw-shaped light arrangement on the side of their helmet being the faction's distinction from the rest of the Astro fleet. Another difference being the fin along the centre of his helmet, suggesting he is a higher rank in Juggernaut's faction, as even Astro Dog didn't have any fancy additions on his helmet like Juggernaut and the Astro Hunter mutant. This could mirror the Astros' way of distinguishing their ranks through the number of fins on their helmet, but on the Juggernaut faction helmet as to avoid confusion. Some additional details are that his mutant body has a sort of exosuit for his arms, which is where the orange energy is being pumped into and why he overpowered Buzzsaw so easily. His back has a massive cog acting as a propulsion ring, with an inner energy ring glowing with the orange Astro energy, this cog allowing him to take off in a similar manner to how the Assailant and Detainer would, due to it spinning up faster before he retreats later on. The inner glowing ring, on the other hand, could be an external energy supply for the mutant's body, making it immune from the tranquilizing effects the blue camera's energy possesses, unlike the lower rank Astros we saw earlier. But this energy ring can be damaged. The ring glowed a deep red after being crushed by the Executor, suggesting it is unstable or could render the Hunter mutant powerless if drained completely. Behaviour-wise, aside from eating humans, he displays a degree of honour to his opponents, thus giving the Buzzsaw mutant the opportunity for a last sentence, unlike the pure-blooded Astros who just go for the kill. This could be one of the many factors that separates the other alien races from the pure Astros, and for the Hunter mutant, this honour may have been a part of his species' approach to war, but unfortunately it's what saved Buzzsaw's life from the return of the Speakers. Speaking of, who is this Executioner and the new Sledgehammer units we've seen? I believe the Sledgehammer units are a hybrid species of Speakers, similar to the large Cameraman hybrids we saw earlier in the episode. As for why the Alliance is suddenly adopting these new units, it could be a response to the larger Astro units like the Specialist or Striders. The Executioner is not Titan Speakerman. Instead, he is a semi-Titan who possesses an energy ring similar to the Astros, but we'll have to find out if it can perform the same functions the Astros' propulsion rings can in future episodes. This semi-Titan status also is reinforced by a lack of a core, which is why he's seen being recharged by a Speaker energy tanker. He would need this energy as the cross banner he plants and ignites uses a lot of energy. But why would they need a semi-Titan in the first place? I've heard many creators suggest that this was conceived after Speaker Tyson was infected, and they needed a temporary replacement to assist the Alliance in uninfecting or executing him if all other methods fail. Alternatively, he was built to fill the gap in Speaker Man Titan's absence whilst he's getting repaired and upgraded, as his last major upgrade was all the way back in episode 56 from the Skibidis. For this battle's purpose, he is to act as a breakthrough unit who is supported by the smaller infantry and mechanized units to not overwhelm him, and to plant the cross-shaped banner either as a beacon to signal the Speaker Armada to his position, or as a morale boost. Which brings me on to my next theory. Why is there so much cross symbolism used by the Speakers? From the banner to Speaker Woman's blades, some think the series is taking a more biblical and religious turn because of it. I disagree. The cross symbolism instead is a reference to the music being played in the background and references of a similar nature. This isn't the first time Boom has done this either, as in episode 59 when the Speakers return to witness both camera and speaker dap it up. The shorts version plays the Depeche Mode song Never Let Me Down Again from the album Music for the Masses, and we see a reference to the album art in the form of a pole with 3 red speakers on top of one of the buildings. In episode 78's case, when Buzzsaw Mutant first entered, the song Death Squad is playing in the background, which comes from Perturbator's album The Uncanny Valley. The Safe for Work album art has a red cross in the background of one of the buildings, similar to the Executioner's cross banner. The album is about an Avenger seeking to destroy a cult whose aim is to eradicate all AI life on Earth, which is similar to what the Astros are doing to the Alliance. As for Speaker Woman's blades, it's a reference to The Weeknd's Starboy, which on the surface level is a song about the death of The Weeknd's former persona and him embracing the new Starboy one instead. This mirrors Speaker Woman's transformation, as we can see she's lost a lot of personality since Dark Speaker Man's death in episode 70, and now has become more cold and serious like Camera Woman. So no, I don't think Skibidi Toilet is heading in a biblical direction. The only other references to my knowledge are in episode 10 and 11 with Angel and Cerberus toilets, but that was years ago, and I highly doubt Boom would want to introduce such a volatile and personal topic such as religion into his world famous franchise about war. That was a lot. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found my theories and thoughts interesting. I have a lot more to talk about 78 in future videos, and I may need to rewrite part of the colour theory video due to some of the events during it. Okay, I know there's been another content gap, but some IRL troubles demotivated me in April. I am easing myself back into the video making process again, and I'm cooking up some long-term channel content in the background. All will make sense soon, don't worry. With that being said, stay critical, Alliance, and I'll see you next time.
Innovate yourself.